Edmonds hadn't won a state championship since the '83 season. This group brought it back. Well, the 1986 Edmonds High boys cross country team state champs, come on up to the stage at this time. Why not? After a 2-year break since the last boys cross-country state championship, this group of runners brought it back. They were Wesco champs, Northwest District champs, and 2A state champions in 1986. Top finishers at state, Frank Fox, 6th place, Josh Hansen, 12th, and Sanjay Sharma, 19th. Other members of that team, Eric Arpey, Jason Hansen, David Garrett, James Cotton, David LeWarren, and Chris Thompson. Their head coach, none other than Tom Campbell, who was assisted by Alan Bonney and Carl Baum. Speaking on behalf of the 86 team is Eric Arpey.
You know, Angie asked me if I wouldn't mind speaking for this team, which I, of course, am very honored to do. I wanted to point out, I didn't know if that was in the last email a typo, because you said keep the talk to 3 to 5 minutes, but did you mean 35 minutes? So I say that because this story of this team is one of my all-time favorite stories of my life, and actually Bill kind of teed it up a little bit. So it goes back to a couple, or taking it back a little bit. You know, there are 3 state champ teams being celebrated here tonight. 3 out of Tom Campbell's, and I'll call them between this talk, TC, Mr. Campbell, Coach Campbell, Tom, all of the above, but I think he had 12 state titles in total. I've been here in a few of the past celebrations, and there have been multiple teams there as well. So that's a pretty high bar to be set for what the expectation is and what the program that Tom nurtured was all about. And it wasn't just about the success. I think everybody who ran for Coach Campbell knew immediately that they were part of something special, something a little bit deeper, full of really tradition. And I will start, and I will keep this fast. I'll try to keep it at a good pace, but I promise you, this is a very good story. Some of you may or may not remember that at the last week of school, Coach Tom would send a couple of his seniors down the street to College Place Middle School to essentially do a recruiting pitch for cross country. And if you think about it, it's pretty brilliant because no other coaches did that. And he would send, I think when I was an 8th grader, it was Carl Van Kalkar and Doug Immels, a couple of Hall of Famers themselves, standing there with their state champ patches on their Letterman's jacket. The soundtrack to what it was a slideshow of pictures of the season. And you think about 8th grade kids, how interesting is the sport of cross country going to be? You're running in the rain, in the wind, in the mud. There's no stadium, there's no cheerleaders, there's no fans. It's just gruel running. And I sat there as an 8th grader and I saw that whole thing and just said, that is it. To be a state champ on a cross country team would be just a dream. So my freshman year, the boys won state and the girls won state. My sophomore year, all but one returned. So we were this kind of a group, for the most part, a bunch of no-name, motley crew of runners. We had a freshman kid who was coming on pretty strong. He had a twin brother. And so that season, we ended up getting 5th in state. And I think to most people, it was kind of a higher than expected performance. The next year, my junior year, we kind of got a little bit better. We started pulling together, and we were starting to actually win some meets and make a little bit of a name for ourselves. We started to feel like we're getting up there. That state final, led by yours truly, we had an epic collapse. Poor performances, and we took 8th in state. And I think, Tom, if I asked you, if I remember right, you said that was the worst performance from the Edmonds team he'd ever seen. To make matters even more painful, our crosstown rivals at Shorecrest, who we felt like we were as good as, won the title. So we're sitting here thinking that could have been us. That spring, during track, there was a kid at Edmonds, all-American athlete, football, basketball, baseball. But if you knew him well enough, you knew he actually could run. There was a little-known secret that he had some wheels. And that spring, he turned out for track. He left baseball behind him, and he turned out for track. He was a sophomore. He went to state in the mile, took 6th. The kid was Frank Fox. And Coach Campbell and Dave Garrick and I were the seniors on it. We were going to be the seniors the next year. We schemed and thought we have to get Frank out for cross country the next year. And I don't think it really took much convincing. He joined cross country that fall of '86 and was the missing piece. And we started to do very well. We were winning meets. We were destroying Shorecrest. And we were starting to actually hit the heights that other state champ teams had achieved. But there was one problem. There was a team down in Gig Harbor that I actually thought they could have been beating college teams. And the week before state, we went down there to watch them run their qualifying meet. We went down incognito, no Letterman's jackets. Now, many of you may not know how cross country is scored. You take your top 5 runners and you add up their places, and the low score wins. 15 is a perfect score. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Never happens. We sat there and watched Gig Harbor at their district meet go 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and then I think 8th. And we were deflated. We were devastated. We thought, we can't. These guys are unbeatable. There's no way we can beat these guys. Now, this is before the internet and Excel spreadsheets and databases. Over that weekend, Coach Campbell dug through the boxes and started doing really what you didn't know this, where's Coach Campbell? You didn't know this, but you created the first virtual reality experience here, because what he did, I'll spare you all the details, but it goes something like this. He took the Gig Harbor runners on that course on that day, and he matched the Edmonds runners from 4 years earlier, who happened to run the exact same course, and kind of did a little matchup of how those teams aligned. He then took these guys, our team, and matched us to the Edmonds team on a different course, transposed it all together. On Monday morning, he came to practice with a piece of paper. He said, you guys want to know if you can beat these guys? He had created a virtual race between us and Gig Harbor, and he has beaten them by 1 point. Now, I don't know if any of us really believe that we could have actually beat Gig Harbor, but there was a seed planted. On the day of the state final the next week, Gig Harbor was the only team in the entire roster of schools that had their names on the backs of their jerseys. So we were hunting them. At the end of the race, when you added Gig Harbor's top 5 and the Edmonds top 5, it was a tie score of 79. That's never happened in the history of the state cross-country championship. So a tiebreaker goes to the 6th man, and in our case, what made it even sweeter is all 7 of us beat their 6th man, but the 6th man on the day was James Cotton, and we were crowned state champs. And for David and I being the seniors and having slogged through all that from the expectations and the dream, somebody just said a moment ago, that cliche of you work hard and you can't achieve your dreams, and this truly was a dream for many of us. There's one after, I will say. A few years ago, I had the chance to meet one of those Gig Harbor runners. We met for a dinner. Super nice guy, and we'd always wondered what was their story. We knew our story. He said they hadn't did not know who we were. There wasn't a doubt in their mind that they were going to win that day. He said he cried the hardest at the end of that race, and they went their own separate ways and never even regrouped ever again. And so I think, you know, one point difference, and here we are with these guys, and again, it's my honor to be able to speak for this whole team, but it was truly one of the highlights of my life, and I love that we can regroup tonight, the first time we've all been back together. So again, thank you everybody, and that's it.